and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is a Tomica Daihatsu Copen that I'll be customizing in a commission build this week. Not long after I'd finished building Brad's Citroën C2 replica, link in the top corner, he bought his Copen. And now the time has come to replicate it. The trickiest part of all was sourcing a base model, but I found this blue one on eBay based in Croatia. The blue will need to be swapped out for silver instead. The Copen is a K car, developed for the strict dimension and engine specification regulations of Japan. Japanese owners of these vehicles enjoy lower tax and insurance rates as a result, making them hugely popular there. Also, because street parking is restricted in Japan, K cars are exempt from parking space ownership requirements in rural areas. Since 1949, K regulations have increased in lengths, widths and displacements. The most recent update was in 1998, which allows for cars up to 3.4 metres or 134 inches in length, 1.48 metres or 58 inches in width, and up to 2 metres or 78 inches in height. Engine capacities were capped at 660cc, and a gentleman's agreement was put in place between manufacturers to limit power output to 63 horsepower. The Copen was unveiled at the 1999 Tokyo Motor Show and entered production in 2002 with its 659cc turbocharged inline-4 engine co-developed with Yamaha. It weighed 830 kilos, with much of the weight coming from its motorised hideaway hardtop roof. A version with a detachable hardtop was also available between 2002 and 2007, saving around 30 kilos in weight. For its first 4 model years, the Copen was only available in right-hand drive. Sales of the right-hand drive model were lackluster in Europe, and so a left-hand drive version was launched. A larger, non-turbocharged 1.3 litre engine was also offered outside of Japan for both performance and emission regulation purposes. This is the engine that Brad's car carries. Sales of the Copen increased with these new features, but they soon tailed off. In 2011, Daihatsu announced that they would be withdrawing the Copen from the European market. This was due to the sales decline and the strong Japanese yen. They later announced that Copen production would cease in 2012. 500 10th anniversary editions were made, which featured leather upholstery and commemorative plates on the door openings. But less than a year later, Daihatsu announced the return of the Copen. 2 concept cars were displayed at the 2013 Tokyo Motor Show. Copen was now spelt with a K instead of a C, with the name being a portmanteau of K-Class and Open for being a convertible roadster. For the 2014 production model, the name returned to a C spelling. This new car was more angular than its predecessor, and it featured a 3-cylinder turbocharged 658cc engine. There were several trim levels on the 2014 launch models before the Copen Zero joined the range in 2015. This had rounder styling more akin to the first generation Copen. The Zero was developed further in 2019. It was given a fixed roof, becoming the Copen Coupe. A limited run of 200 were built to commemorate 5 years of the second generation Copen. Later that year, the Copen GR Sport went on sale. These are sold through both Daihatsu and Toyota dealership networks, but the car features the badging of neither. Instead, a C emblem is used on the front and rear. These had more aggressive styling, BBS wheels, more rigid suspension, and a Momo steering wheel. Production of the second-gen Copen continues to date. Daihatsu displayed a rear-wheel drive 1.3 litre Vision Copen in 2023, which looked even closer to the original design than the Copen Zero. As you'll have seen, I've now removed the roof of the Tomica, but instead of discarding the offcuts, I'm turning it into a removable hardtop for Brad. That means I needed to modify the plastic window piece as well. The Tomica Copen first went on sale in 2002, and despite its rarity here in the UK, a huge number of variations were produced for the domestic market. The casting was retired in 2007, but it was featured in no less than 21 different releases. There's information about each of these on the Tomica fandom page for the base model. I think that this, as it was metallic blue with white Copen side tampos, was from a gift set. This gift set was titled the Lots of Tomica Car Carrier set and featured the Copen alongside 4 other cars plus a large card transporter. Apparently, the set was released in around October 2002, though it was re-released in around 2009 where all of the models were produced in Vietnam instead of China. This one was made in China. I've now added a spoiler to it, plus I go about trying to resolve the gap left from removing the roof. There's still some work to be done there. I have filled in a slight cut that I'd made hacking away the roof, however. Now for the wheels, I found it tricky to find any sets from my array of suppliers that looked remotely close to the Copen 6 spokes. I settled with these 6 spokes from Walton Style as a compromise. If I had the time to produce my own wheel sets and print them, I absolutely would. Or if anyone out there is able to design and print custom wheel sets for me, hit me up. Just drop a comment here or send me an email. I'm tidying up my epoxy putty work here, but the roof cover was not doing it for me. I decided to start over and mould that onto the plastic interior piece instead of the body. The body was now in a better place without that roof cover addition, so I give it a coat of primer. Pretty remarkably, this would be my only coat of primer. I didn't need to perfect any of the cutaway areas or smooth the spoiler any further. The doors and my hardtop creation also get their primer coats. It's much easier working on the epoxy putty with a solid base to build it up on. When it's done, it should produce a far more even finish. Speaking of even finishes, I'm a big fan of the finish of this new to me aluminium coat from Hi-Coat. Previously, I got through countless cans of Tamiya gloss aluminium. This Hi-Coat comes in a huge 400ml can. It gives me 4 times the quantity of the Tamiya for a couple of pounds less. Let me know if you think that this is a worthy, economical replacement down in the comments, or tell me if you prefer the old Tamiya tin. It's always good to hear your feedback on paints, even if it is in contrast to my thriftiness in this expensive hobby. Now that the interior has been primed, it too gets a coat of aluminium. With the hardtop complete after a couple of coats, I clear coat it before giving the interior plastic a coat of black. I've taped it off so that the silver areas remain. This roof is coming along nicely, so I finish it off by attaching its transparency with a touch of Yoo-Hoo universal adhesive. I'm happy with that. It was a worthwhile salvage side quest. The door trim on Brad's car is red, so I give that a hand-painted dose of Artistro acrylic. This chrome application is me laying down a base layer for the lighting. However, you'll soon see that I decided to take a different approach with the lighting arrangements. I add in a bit of finer detailing to the doors before refocusing my efforts on the interior piece. First, I add in the chrome highlights of the steering wheel centre, gear knob and rollover hoops before colouring the seats in red. So, like my Porsche 917 build from last week, I've decided to try my hand at using lighting decals moving forward. Please tell me if you prefer these over my old methods in the comments. I hope that you think that this is a real step up in my custom build efforts. I certainly think that they turn the dial up on the realism scale. It may not be a solution for all of my customs, like on cars with tiny or raised cast lighting. I'll definitely try it more going forward, unless of course you tell me not to. Now that the decals are all set, I'm down to the final finishing touches of the build for Brad. Some of that lighting I was talking of earlier, those two fiddly or awkwardly cast, I'm going to have to draw in, like the middle brake light or side repeaters on the Copen. But with the plastic grille piece push fit in place, I can now fit the square registration plate to the front. I can't forget a little nod to Brad's Copen's Porsche badge either. Then it's time to secure the windscreen, which I have to use adhesive to hold in place. I'm all fingers and thumbs as I struggle to fit the doors in, ahead of its final assembly. There's not a lot that makes up the Copen model, what with the doors in place and the wheels underneath the suspension spring on the base. Once I've slotted the interior plastic with its putty appendage snugly into the body cavity, I can reacquaint it with the base, which is secured by two 3mm M2 laptop screws. After it had been reassembled, I found that these spacers on the wheels left them sticking out far too far from the body. So I lop each of them off with my jeweler's saw so that they now sit flush. This made a massive difference to the appearance of the Copen. You can see how much further each wheel sticks out at the front, even more so when the body is brought into the equation. At this point, I contacted Brad to tell him his Copen was ready to collect, as he coincidentally lives close by to me. For what I think is the third time, I had the wrong number plate on a custom build. Brad had sent me some pics of his Copen from before he had registered his new plate to it, but that's just a small issue easily resolved with new decals. The rear one is even shaped to the opening at the back, and it looks better than the old rectangle one by my reckoning. This was how the Tomica Daihatsu Copen once looked, when it lived a charmed life over in Croatia. Brad got in touch asking for a commission of his new car, replacing the real Citroën C2 I built a replica of for him last year. While this is a relatively scarce model, it wasn't quite the match Brad was looking for, and there aren't many alternatives out there at this scale. So I made a few modifications, took a saw to its roof, and now it looks like this. This is my interpretation of Brad's Copen with its roof down. I've given it these lighting decals which really help make those headlights pop. I've coloured the interior red, the same as his car, and I've recoloured the body silver to match as well. I moulded in the rear spoiler, which totally alters the look of the car. Oh yeah, and I cut its roof off, but I saved the salvage for a removable hardtop feature. It's not a perfect fit, but it makes use of what would otherwise be scrap metal. Another imperfect fit are the wheels, which were as close as I could get to the Copen's 6 spokes. But that about sums up this build. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments, and make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Help support the channel do more builds like this by pledging on Patreon or YouTube memberships from as little as £1 per month. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.